Eastern Horn of Africa. If you don't know the countries in the Eastern Horn of Africa, we have Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, Somalia, Ethiopia, Sudan, South Sudan, and Djibouti. Where are you moving to? Sorry, the USA doesn't count. Seychelles is not in the Eastern Horn. Egypt, not in the Eastern Horn. Tanzania, same language, no visa requirements. Very good for migrants in the East Africa, Dar es Salaam, Somalia. I'd rather stay in Kenya and fight. Okay. Fight for us, then let us know when to come back. Rwanda, DRC. So a lot of people are saying Rwanda. Why are we saying Rwanda? Does anyone want to say why Rwanda? Anyone? Anyone want to offer me why everyone is saying Rwanda? Rwanda, Rwanda, Rwanda? No one wants to say why? It's a very good country, yeah? Very easy to move to, very easy to live in. Yeah, any Rwandese? Anyone from Rwanda here? Oh, yay. We're all coming, make space. Okay, fine. Next one, please, Amal. Who among your family or friends is a migrant? Do you know anyone among your family, your friends? Is it your mom, your sister, your cousin, your neighbor, your grandparents, your classmate, your roommate? Anyone you know who's a migrant? Wow, my whole family, wow. Wow, that's nice. Parents, uncle, my wife, uncle, cousin, my uncle and Shosh. Oh, Shosh. Oh, I should say, yeah, Shosh, okay. Entire family, intercountry migrants, many extended. So everyone here knows a migrant. Somehow, the entire generation. Wow. My friend, half of my family, dad and siblings, classmate. I may be the first one. Good. Good on you, good on you. All the best as you choose to migrate, hopefully regularly and safely. I doubt my origin. Somebody's thinking maybe they're a migrant, they're not too sure. Okay, all right. So everybody knows a migrant. Everybody knows someone who's a migrant. Okay, that's cool. My best friend. Oh, that's nice. Okay, Amal, next one. Using no more than 5 words. Try not to use no more than 5 words. What do you think is the biggest challenge for migration today? What do you think is the thing that is messing up safe, regular, and humane migration today? Anywhere in the world, what do you think is messing it up? What's standing in the way? Discrimination, recognition of skills, corruption, finances, war, instability, too many regulations to migrate, racism, security concerns, marginalization, language, policy, xenophobia. Yeah, okay. I see that. I'll leave that up to Laura, who's taking up after me. Now you know what people think, where the issues are. And these are the things that some of the people who are going to be seated here are going to be telling you how we work to try and stop, prevent, reduce, improve some of the things that are being written here. Trafficking, yeah, that's a big one. Integration, culture shock, economy, yes. Visa requirements. So a lot of people are saying corruption, racism, discrimination, visa requirements, xenophobia, yes. Ufisadi, yes. Okay, the whole Kenyan process. Oh, oop. We'll take the feedback. Okay, Amal. Okay, so now we're going to do a quiz. This is just for us to know, what we should emphasize on, okay? You don't have to put your name if you don't want to, but if you can, do. Amal, you can post the first question. You can post the first question. Thank you. Which gender do you think makes up the majority of migrants in the East and Horn of Africa region? What do you think? Is it men? Are there more men, more women? Or are they equal? What do you think? More men, more women? We'll give it 5 more seconds. Okay, Amal, let's see what people think. Women, more women, 65%, 35% think there's men. Amal, show us what the response is. There are more women. There are more women migrants in the East and Horn of Africa region. Okay, next question. About how many trafficked persons in the region do you think IOM has identified in the last 10 years? Trafficked persons, how many do you think IOM has been able to find, assist, identify? Do you think it's 3 million, 3,000, 300,000, maybe just 300? What do you think? Okay, most people think it's 3 million. Amal, what's the answer? It's just 3,000. Yeah. That's how difficult it is. You'll hear every day about smugglers, about people being trafficked. Reaching and identifying those people is a whole other ballgame. It's only 3,000. Okay, next question. Which of the following do you think is the greatest reason for migration in the Eastern Horn of Africa? Why are people leaving or moving around the Eastern Horn of Africa? Do you think they're looking for better living conditions? Do you think they want more money? Do you think they're fleeing persecution? Or do you think climate is making people move? Which one? The greatest. All these are happening, but which one do you think is the one that is pushing people out the most? Okay, most of us think it's better living conditions. Amal? Yes, this is why we're all going to Rwanda. Majority of the migrants in this region are actually fleeing persecution. It's even trouncing better living conditions. Okay, Amal, next question. I promise we'll be done soon. Where do you think most African migrants in Africa, where do you think they migrate to? Where do the majority of them go to? Do they go to Europe, to the United States, to the Gulf countries? Are they staying in Africa, or are they going to the UK? Where are most of them going to? Amal? So most of us think it's within Africa, followed by Europe, okay? Yes, we're staying here. We're just rotating amongst each other. So make friends with another African from another country. You never know. You just never know. Okay, next one. What does IOM stand for? We're here saying IOM this, IOM that, IOM. What does IOM do? What do you think IOM stands for? Is it the International Office for Migration? Is it the International Organization for Migration? Is it the International Organized Migration? Or is it the International Office for Movement? What do you think? Okay, let's see what most people are saying. I should have brought lollipops. Good one, good one, good one. Good one. Amal, let's see it. Yes, 90%. That's a good one. That's a good one. Thank you. I hope it's not written somewhere. Where is it? Oh, it's not? Okay, fantastic. Very good one. Okay, second last one. Which of these countries is not a part of the East and Horn of Africa? I just told you a few questions ago what the countries are that are in the Eastern Horn of Africa. Which one of these is not? Ethiopia, Yemen, Djibouti, Somalia, Burundi. Which one does it fit in? What do you think? Ah, you guys, someone's snitching. Okay, everyone here is really smart. That's a good one. And the last question, how many countries do you think are covered by IOM, East, and Horn of Africa? How many countries do you think we cover? Is it 5, 10, 7, or 13? How many? Easy one, yeah? Let's see. Okay, 45% think it's 7, 36 say 10, then it's 10 and 10 for 5 and 13. Amal? Drum roll. Who got 7 out of 7? Who got all 7? Who got all 7? Okay, I don't have lollipops, but good on you. But at least now you know a thing or two, right? Yeah, okay. Oh, the results, the leaderboard. Let's go, just go on. There you go. Who is Ngondo? Ngondo, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Ngondo. If my boss was here, I would have offered you a free internship, but because it's above my payroll. Ngondo, Derek Kinywa. Who's Derek? Actually, you're both on the same. Good one. Thank you. Vincent Mwangi? Vincent? Aha. Great. Munguti? Yay. Kibonge? Good one. 1 out of 5, gender. We have a gender issue here, guys. We have a gender issue here. We'll address that at the next round table. Oh, I'm told by my other boss over here that there are gifts coming around for the winners. So if you are on the leaderboard, someone is coming around to give you something from IOM. Okay? And thank you so much. Rachel, over to you. Thank you so much.
That was amazing. That was amazing. Can we give her a wonderful round of applause? She just made this place so much more lively. Like, honestly speaking, when I saw fleeing persecution, I really wrote higher wages there. So, okay. So anyways, let's go to the next session. So now we're going into panel discussions. And first of all, our moderator is going to be Laura Smith. Please rise, just say hello to everybody. Yes, yes. Give a wonderful round of applause. And let's also introduce the key panelists. That's going to be Sharon Rebecca Wanyama, the Labor Migration Officer. She sits right there. Can you just raise your hand, say hi? Thank you. The next is Roy Opon. Roy Opon, there he is. Wonderful, wonderful. And Adish Shiwat. Adish Shiwat. Wonderful, just stand up, just rise up for a split second. Everyone just give a wonderful round of applause. And then Marian Rajab. Marian Rajab, that's amazing. I'd like to request all of you to just come take a seat here. There'll be an usher who's going to be walking around with a microphone. If you guys want to speak, it'll be handed on to you. You just need to raise your hand, all right? All right? Okay. So please be seated. All right?
And now we're getting into the heart of why we are gathered here today. We will be having a short panel discussion. Each of the panelists will be given 5 minutes to answer a question that has been given to them. And then we will be opening the floor up for questions and answers. So as the panelists are speaking, please feel free to write down your questions, and then we will have the ushers enable or give you the mic in order to ask. And we do want this to be a dialogue, which is why I am asking my panelists to please be brief in your comments. I will actually be timing you, and after 4 minutes, I will give you a signal, 1, meaning you have 1 minute to go to wrap up your comments. And just to provide a little bit of perspective and recenter why we are having this conversation. You know, as Justin McDermott mentioned, we are seeing a demographic shift in the world. According to the World Economic Forum, by 2035, Africa will contribute more people to the workforce each year than the rest of the world combined. And this is only in, what year are we, 2024? 11 years. And in order to absorb these new entrants to the labor market, the continent will need to create 18 million jobs each year. Part of this is to enable movement within the continent to ensure that Kenyans can move to other countries and able to work, and also to move abroad in order to meet these demographic shifts, as Justin mentioned before, primarily in countries such as Germany, Spain, the UK, etc. To set the context, I'm going to ask Addis, what are the dangers of migrating irregularly, and how can we ensure that there are safe, regular pathways for migrant workers?
Okay, thank you, Laura. Before going through my prepared talking points, I just want to take you back to Ivis's opening remarks this morning. She clearly indicated or shared her life story, her family stories, which I think resonates with most of us here, and why we wanted to have this discussion today. So that clearly shows, the impact or the danger of migrating irregularly or illegally, to put it in a simple words. If you clearly think the word irregular or illegal means, it directly relates to losing your legal protection or your legal presence in some place. So if you are present in a country, in some place anyway, you are immediately become vulnerable to various risks. One of them is losing your protection. You will not have any legal protection. The country you are illegally present in, they are not entitled to protect you. So you are exposing yourself to various risks, like falling in the hands of the traffickers, for example. When you are desperate, you'll tend to look into various options, to get out of yourself from that kind of situation, yeah? So you reach out to different people, and there are these, how can I put, the bad people who are waiting for this opportunity or to exploit this opportunity for their own financial gains. So when you are in that situation, and when these people present, these opportunities to you, you immediately take up that offer without thinking twice or consulting your colleagues, friends, families. So this is one of the key risk of taking this irregular migration, putting yourself in that vulnerable situation, like lacking legal protection, lacking getting that legal service as well. The other one is, as I said, trafficking is a key concern, throughout the region. and even while migrating abroad, like out of Africa, out of our region. There are so many people who are out there to benefit out of this. So that is one. Two, you lose also, the benefit of getting services like education service, health service, which are key for our human growth or staying healthy. You are migrating mainly to have a better life. If you are not having that health, or if you feel sick, and if you are not able to access that health service, that means you are compromising your aim of being there. And to access those health services, you require legal documents. If you are illegal in that country, you are not entitled to get that legal documents as well. So these are the key things you have to look into. The other thing is, really, the unsafe travel conditions. When you are migrating irregularly, there is less possibilities of taking that route like a safe route. It's always taking the routes which are unsafe, which are very dangerous, which will expose you to health risks, to death, and to smuggling and trafficking. The other key thing is separation from families. If you are staying irregularly in somewhere else, there is no way that you will be able to come back unless you are deported or an opportunity to be reunified with your family members. So separation is one of them. The other thing is economic exploitation. You'll be susceptible to be recruited unethically and end up working for less wage compared to the local population or to the people who are there through legal pathways. You'll face hostility, discrimination. This is what you see on the media throughout. If you are there irregularly or illegally in someone's country, you will be discriminated and face those hostilities. But there are ways, as we have said, people can migrate regularly. One of the ways is which maybe Sharon will be expand on as well is countries negotiating bilateral labor migration agreements. When there are those bilateral labor migration agreements, countries can easily send labor skill to the country of destinations to fill this, the skills gap or the labor gap there. The other one is having that collaboration mechanisms between two countries. International collaboration is key. Having fair and ethical recruitment systems, having regulatory systems to monitor and to enforce policies or legal frameworks which monitor the recruitment processes within the country of origin, and to harmonize that with the country of destination is key as well. The other one is labor mobility, having labor mobility programs. These are currently which IOM is trying to work on and expand to create an opportunity for two countries to come negotiate labor mobility programs and put in place frameworks which protects the rights of migrant workers. Labor market information system, which is also key. Country of origins, they have to know what kind of labor is needed in the country of destination, and country of destinations should know that what kind of skills are available in the country of origin. So to match this, we have to have a labor market information system. The other thing is capacity building for governments, for CSOs, trade unions, to make sure that they have the capacity, one, to formulate appropriate policies and to enforce that. And having all very important services, including like legal service, if people wanted to return or to come back to their home countries, services such as through the consular attaches or embassies, providing legal status, documentations, and then through time, having or giving the opportunities for countries to renegotiate, review their processes and policies and implement those. So I think this is, I'm trying to, I prepared like 3 pages of talking point, but yeah, hopefully I will elaborate more when when we go to the Q&A session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Addis. And please feel free to ask questions, asking Addis to expand on anything that she has said. The dangers of migrating irregularly are well documented, and it's unfortunate that in the last 3 years, we have record of 283 migrant workers who have passed away in the Gulf countries. And I know that this has really galvanized the Ministry of Labor as well as the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to increase work in safeguarding protections for migrant workers, which leads us to the next question for Sharon. What platforms exist at the political level to address issues related to labor migration, skills development, and youth employment?
Thank you very much for the question. And first and foremost, I just want to say I'm excited to be here today. I'm an alumni of University of Nairobi and Kenyatta University. Yeah, so it's really, really nice to meet with my fellow comrades here. And on to my question is, what are the platforms that exist at the political level? So I work with the State Department for Labor and Skills Development. It's under the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection. We also have another state department called the State Department for Social Protection, which deals with issues of older persons, the children, and other vulnerable people in the community. But then now for the State Department for Labor and Skills Development, we look at issues of employment promotion, we look at issues of social security, we look at issues of skills development, we look at issues of labor migration management, and among others. And you can visit the ministry's website and find out more about the two various state departments. And so existing political platforms, first, our Constitution of Kenya of 2010 is a very, very robust and inclusive legal framework, which all our policies, our legal frameworks, our institutional frameworks draw from. And when you go to the Constitution of Kenya in Chapter 4, under the Bill of Rights, it clearly states that every Kenyan has a right to their human rights and their freedoms, right to economic empowerment, right to decent jobs. So first and foremost is that there's a lot of political goodwill in governments drawing from our Constitution of Kenya. And also now when you come down to the ministry, to the State Department for Labor and Skills Development, we are under the labor and employment sector. And under that, we also have various legal and policy frameworks. I'll just speak on a few. The legal frameworks actually regulate the operations of employers and workers in the country. So we have the Employment Act of 2007. We have which provides terms and conditions. If you're going to work in Kenya, what are the bare minimums that an employer should meet, and what is the responsibility of the worker? We also have the Labor Institutions Act that guides the various bodies under this labor and employment sector. We have the National Employment Authority. I don't know if people are aware of it, but it provides the public employment services in the country. So when you visit the NEA Employment Authority, you'll be able to find jobs, you'll be able to apply as a job seeker. I don't know, could you project them? It's not projecting, but on your phones, you can just Google NEA IMS or National Employment Authority, neaims.go.ke. As of now, you can start applying for a job. You can register as a job seeker, and then you can apply for various jobs, because most of the time, most of us wait to finish school, then we start applying for jobs, which then gives a hurdle for you to enter the labor market. But if you can start applying for jobs now, even internships programs, you can be able to get on that website. Also, another website we have under the ministry is the Kenya Labor Market Information System. It's just called labormarket.go.ke. When you go into the system, you'll be able to find information on jobs, skills in demand, what are the current skills in demand, what do employers want, so that even as you're doing your bachelor's, your undergrad, your master's, you can be able to be doing some short courses, some soft skills. Because now when you go to the labor market, you'll find most employers, yes, they look for the certificate, but also the soft skills. Do you have the necessary soft skills that employers want in the labor market? And also, under that, we also have the National Industrial Training Authority, which is guided under the NITA Act, which also provides for regulation of industrial training in the country. And I think from there, I'll shift to labor migration, which is the focus of today. 1 minute? Okay. You'll have to add me 2 minutes. So under labor migration, we've had various policy frameworks. Last year, the cabinet approved the national policy on labor migration, which now gives us a clear framework on how we are supposed to undertake labor migration activities in the country. And apart from that, we also have the global labor market strategy, which we launched also late last year. And the labor market strategy is supposed to increase opportunities for Kenyans out there. And also, to accompany that, we are also negotiating for various bilateral labor agreements, as Addis had indicated. And the BLAs give us, it's called an opening to these countries where we can be able to get jobs. So far, we have 4 bilateral labor agreements, one with the United Kingdom on healthcare nurses. And I don't know if we have nurses in the house, but there's a lot of demand for the healthcare profession workers in the developed countries. So if it's something you're interested in, you can go to the NEA, the platform I've told you about, the NEA IMS. You'll find some jobs there. So already we have ongoing recruitment for the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. I think they want around 2,500 nurses, which we are supposed to send in the next 2 or 3 months. UK is still opened, which you can apply through the Nursing Council of Kenya. And then also we have a BLA with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, BLA with the State of Qatar, and BLA with the United Arab Emirates. But we are exploring different countries. I think so far we have around 19, German, Canada, Russia is also on board. They gave us some job orders recently. So we are getting a lot of demand from various countries. So it's an opportunity that the young people can be able to explore. You can visit the labor department and just find out what are the requirements you're supposed to have for you to be able to go and work outside. Because the major challenge we're having as the labor sector is we don't have enough jobs. That's the truth about it. Our economy is not creating enough jobs. So what we are doing as government is we are looking where can we get other employment opportunities for our young people. And as he left, he's called Mark?
Justin McDermott.
Justin talked about high unemployment rates in the country, high youth, we have a very high youth population. I think the youth were like 63% currently, as per the 2019 census, 63% of the total working age population. So, and every year, KNBS estimates 1.2 million graduates entering the labor market. And you find that only the economy can only generate around 800,000 jobs. So where do the rest go? So it's very important that even as you're looking for a job in the country, if it's been difficult, you can try to explore labor migration. But as Addis has indicated, make sure you use the right pathways to migration. For example, if you want to migrate, visit National Employment Authority. You don't need to go to their physical offices. You can use their platform to just find out. For example, if you want to go through a private employment agency, make sure the registered private employment agency is online in that system. When you go into that system, you can be able to see who are the registered private employment agencies in that system. So that when you find a job, if it's not, I know I have 1 minute.
No, you're done.
I'm done?
You're done.
Okay, fine. I'll just stop on that, but I think we can continue more during the plenary. Thank you.
Thank you. And yes, this is exactly the point that I was going to segue between your presentation and Roy's presentation, is we know that there are a lot of unscrupulous actors in this space, people who are promising jobs for Kenyans and other East Africans abroad that are actually not legitimate. And one of the ways that we can ensure that these actors, these private recruitment agencies are real and validated is by checking through the National Employment Authority's website. And this actually leads us into Roy's presentation. And it's the question of what are IOM Kenya's key interventions that address and promote safe, regular labor migration. And please keep time, Roy.
I'll try and keep time. Thank you very much, Laura. Yeah, with regards to the IOM interventions that we normally carry out under our labor mobility and social inclusion unit, we do indeed work closely with the government, the civil society, and also the private sector to create an enabling environment to facilitate ethical recruitment. Of course, given the growing number of migrants or Kenyans going abroad, especially amongst the youth, the issue of ethical recruitment has been a priority for the government of Kenya, and of course they have been able to reach out to us for technical assistance. So basically within IOM, we have a flagship program known as the International Recruitment Integrity System, which is basically a capacity building program meant to strengthen the capacity of private recruitment agency to promote ethical recruitment. And what we mean here by ethical recruitment is that we want them to protect the rights of migrant workers who they are facilitating their movement to go abroad. We also want them to promote transparency and accountability in that process. And so far, it's good to mention that out of around the 650 licensed private recruitment agencies that we have, we've been able to train around 200 or slightly over 200. So they still need for more training so that at least we could ensure that indeed our migrant workers go abroad in a right-based manner. And it's just not a matter of protecting the rights of the migrant worker, but most importantly, we want to optimize on basically the benefits of labor migration. Because indeed, if you migrate in a regular manner, you'll be able to to send remittances back at home. But also at the same time, you'll also be able to fill the labor shortages in the country of destination, but also most importantly, bring those skills and knowledge back to your country of origin and build the capacity of the local nationals. But also, we've been able to work hand in hand with the government in formulating pre-departure handbooks for prospective migrant workers who want to go to Qatar, UAE, and Saudi Arabia, given that the cases that we normally receive of exploitation normally emanate from the GCC countries. So basically that has been our focus area, of course, based on the available funding that we have. But also for the Kenyan nurses, we've been able to develop a pre-departure handbook for Kenyan nurses who are going to work in the UK. And I believe so far the impact of especially the Kenyan nurses who have been going to the UK has been quite good, since I believe we have maybe received no to limited cases of migrant Kenyan nurses who are being exploited in those countries. And basically what is entailed in these pre-departure handbooks, it's basically just general information about the countries of destination, where we just sensitize the prospective migrant workers about, the religion, the traditions, maybe some of the aspects of the legal rights that they're entitled to when they're in the destination country, and most importantly, contacts about the Kenyan embassy in the destination country, so that in any case they are facing any distress in the destination country, they are able to reach out to the Kenyan embassy or consulate for them to extend assistance to them. In addition to that, we've also been able to work with the National Employment Authority to establish what we call an oversight mechanism. We have come to know that indeed, when it comes to facilitating overseas recruitment of Kenyan migrant workers, the exploitation normally starts at the initial stages of the migration process, where migrants are either being charged high recruitment fees or they are given false jobs advertisements. So therefore, through this oversight mechanism, at least we are able to monitor the activities of the unscrupulous PRAs, and most importantly, also we have given them a platform in which they could be able to report these unscrupulous PRAs through a toll-free line that has been posted in the NEA website, whereby in any case, maybe you have a relative who's in the GCC countries and they're facing distress, they could easily, dial in this number for them to seek support through our National Employment Authority. I can see my time is up, but yes, we'll continue with the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Roy. And I forgot to mention Roy is a USIU grad, so back.
I'm happy to be back.
Happy to be back, so you feel free to catch him after and ask him about his career progression from student to IOM employee. So we've heard that there are a lot of dangers to migrating irregularly. We've heard that there is work being done by Government of Kenya, also by IOM, to protect the rights of human beings as they stay in their countries or as they move outside of their countries. And there's also working to provide more opportunities for the youth in the region. And now we will hear from a youth from the region. Very grateful to have Miriam here to discuss with us the importance of honoring human rights. So to you, Miriam, from experience, why is it important to honor migrant rights by countries and communities, and what are ways we can do so? And since you are a student and a youth, you get 6 minutes.
Okay. Thank you. Before I dive into the question about, from my experience, I'd like to first talk about why it is important. To me, it's actually quite obvious, because it's about the way states normally reflect individuals. States function as individuals. So if I have a problem with you, and let's say you kick my brother or you lash my brother with, I don't know, a few whips, stuff like that, I will be upset. Oh, sorry, okay, sorry. I will be very upset. That means our relationship, our future relationships have immediately been, they have deteriorated. Excuse me, I'm from Congo, by the way, so I speak French, not English. So it's that. As countries, reflecting individuals and supposed to function as individuals, there's that importance of humanity, morality. Before being states and this and that, we should understand that what makes a state, it's people. So as people, how do we live together? How do we function together if there isn't even that aspect of morality, morale, of humanity, how to live with someone, how even if the person is sans papier, without papers, like legal migrant, is it right for the person, just because the person doesn't have papers, because we know that migrants, you have those that are compelled to move out from where they lived, and you have those that want to move out for other purposes like wages and other stuff. So if the person doesn't have papers, what rights do you have to kill someone, to throw someone in the desert, as we have seen in Tunisia and Morocco? That's where I will come back to the point of from my experience. I am Congolese from Kinshasa, and I relate with people that are from Cameroon, from Cote d'Ivoire, from Togo. I relate with them. First of all, of course, there's the factor, the language factor that ties us together. So when I see a fellow country like Tunisia that is also Muslim, I'm also Muslim. So I have those two identities, my brothers that are kind of like my neighbors, and you also have those that I share this religious identity. But because of maybe racism, discrimination, and also the political factors where you have seen the president would say something like, the reason why Tunisia or Morocco is having economical issues is because we have been welcoming way too many migrants. And what happens is that even the migrants that have been there before even this factor of excessive migration that's happening to go to Europe, what happens is that there's tension. They're being thrown in the desert, they've been killed. There was a video of a lady and a small girl in the desert, dry, with almost like, she didn't have much clothes on, and it's just so sad. Where has the humanity gone? Yes, there's the political interest of every country, but first and foremost, it's like we're forgetting that we're humans. Where's the compassion? I will also, okay, now that directly relates to me compared to the Côte d'Ivoire and Cameroon. In Congo, I'm sure most people know that the east of the country is, there's war and instability, majority in the east of the country. And so what happens is that, of course, there's people from Goma, Ruchuru, Bukavu, North Kivu, that are moving out of the country. They might find themselves in Rwanda, in Burundi, in Uganda, Kenya. I was actually surprised when I came in Kenya. By the way, Kenyans are amazing people, amazing. The welcome was just fantastic. I first came because this is my first time to travel, and I thought that, you know, I wouldn't be able to get along with people, like going to some places will be tough. Because I heard someone telling me, you know, there's tribalism, there's this and that, Kenyans don't like people, but it's just amazing. And honestly, I love my country and I do plan on going back, but I would always want to come back to Kenya, invest, do something. But there's just this attachment that I've connected, if I can say, with Kenya. So you have the people in the east that have been, oh, the time, yes, last one. They have been moving, and so what happens, one might think that you have more people that are moving out of the country than internally. Well, that's not the case. You have more of internal displacement than external. And so what happens is that you have people that are moving into big cities. Ruchuru is not so big, so, or Bunagana, those places, they're not so big. So people move to Goma or a city in North Kivu, Sud Kivu, I forgot the name, but they've been moving there. What happens is that what feeds, if I can say, a city? They get their maize, their food, everything from the villages. Now what's happening is that the villages are being, people are moving out of the villages. Villages they're now empty. So who's feeding those that are in the village, in the cities? So what happens is that life in the city is even more expensive because those that were supposed to take care of us in the city are moving and living with us in the city. So what do? Life has just become tough. How do we implement that? That's the last one. How do we implement that? There's a follow-up that is needed because Tunisia, for example, and Morocco, Tunisia has signed a treaty with Côte d'Ivoire that gives Ivorians the right to travel to Tunisia without visa. So they're traveling legally. But what happens is that they are not wanted over there. And so they're being killed or just, life is just pitoyable. French. Life is hard. And so although you have Tunisia that has signed the Treaty of Geneva and all of that, the human rights, but there is no implementation. The fact that there is no implementation means that anytime they can violate human rights and there is no one to actually point fingers at them like, you're doing this, you're doing that. So yeah, one of the ways to make migration better is to have those agencies that can follow up with migrations. That's it for me.
Thank you so much. And as Miriam, you noted a lot of internal movement within DRC. We're seeing that also all across the Eastern Horn of Africa region with the experience of El Nino and the drought. There's a lot of Kenyans from the north moving down south. And when we looked at the challenges, we saw xenophobia, discrimination. And this happens both within countries and between countries. But as Jenna also noted in our poll, all of us know a migrant personally. So instead of viewing these as groups of people, we remember that they are brothers, they are sisters, they are mothers, they are fathers, they are sons, they are daughters, they are cousins. And now we turn to our audience. The VC mentioned that these are opportunities to engage in the complexities of critical issues. We have time for a few questions and then a few brief answers from our panelists. Can we maybe we can take a cohort of 3 questions. I see one here. Let's get one here, and then up in the back. Let's do 1, 2, 3. And there. We'll get you in 4. We'll do 4 questions. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Good afternoon. My name is Bridget Amesa from Daystar University. I have a number of questions, but I think I'll just ask 2. Mariam brought up the question on IDPs, and she talked about how that is a problem. So I don't know who will answer this one, but how can IOM reach IDPs without interfering with state sovereignty and issues on state supremacy because of international law and national law issues again? Then, from what Roy and Sharon stated, the Kenyan government has definitely done a lot to work on employment and migration issues. So what about states that haven't gotten to where Kenya has gotten to? Because you're talking about the Eastern Horn of Africa region. How is that affecting Kenya, since we have clearly done something about it? So what about those who haven't done their homework? Thank you.
Thank you for those 2 questions. We had the second over here.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Stephanie Kingori from the Technical University of Kenya. My questions are directed to Madam Sharon. From my background as a nurse, yes, I'm a registered nurse in Kenya, but I have not yet migrated to the UK. But my question of concern is, why is it that it looks like the Kenyan government is really focusing on the GCC countries, even with the history, with the workers who have faced exploitation from such countries? So why is it that the government is, let me say, it's preferring the GCC countries? Because in the list you mentioned, it's only UK that is not in the GCC countries. And then the other question is about the private employment agencies. Is there a regulation on them? Because the cases of exploitations stem down from the recruitment agencies we have in Kenya. Also,
I'm so sorry. 2 questions.
Okay, thank you.
I know. We can have a lively conversation after. In the back, because initially we were going to go with 4 questions, but it's looking like it's going to be 8.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Naomi from Kenya. I'm a student here at USIU. I have several questions. First of all, I want to congratulate my brothers and sisters in Kenya because we have accommodated a huge number of people migrating here, and I'm proud that many of them do not face persecution in Kenya. So it's quite sad to see what's happening, not just in African countries, but also in Europe. Like there's an ongoing case about repatriating refugees from Rwanda. Now let me get to my question. First, I want to ask, I think everybody who looks at youth in terms of employment, everybody thinks that we need to knock through a door to get a job. So we are asking for an opportunity to invite us on a table where we can express alternative ways of how we view employment. We necessarily don't need to be employed in an office. We have ideas, especially, I believe African youth have vibrant ideas, but we don't have a support system. I have written severally to a few embassies to say, you know, I'm looking at an organization at an alternative way of how we can address the issue of employment other than moving to other countries, because there's so much we can offer in this country, but we do not have the system to do that. Secondly, is the issue of victims of trafficking. How can we report that? When we see cases of trafficking, a lot of people don't come through for help, don't reach out for help because they don't know where to knock. And do we have to have too many people being persecuted for them to access help? And allow me to push in one more. What's the role of psychology in migration?
2 questions. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. We do not have time. I think the 4th was here. We'll have to do multiple rounds because we don't. Our panelists will forget the questions.
Okay, thank you. My name is Wesley from Riara. My first question is on DRC, and it's very basic. We know my sister has mentioned that there is a lot of internal migration that is happening. My question is that we know that DRC is a large country, and part of these people migrating from indigenous communities. So what is the role of IOM? What frameworks are there in place to make sure that all the cultures and the way livelihood of the indigenous communities within the migration ecosystem is still maintained? Second, I know Kenya is a transit nation. It is both a sending and a receiving country. So my second question is basically on the sending aspect. We send a lot of workers who end up being migrants in the Gulf countries. What is IOM, or rather, if the government can answer, what is our policy towards that? Because we know a lot of Kenyans have gone abroad. In as much as we are a cool country, we receive people from outside, we welcome them. We are not treated so very well when you go out there. What are we doing in order to make sure that we are also getting the same treatment or even better when we send migrants to other places? Thank you.
Thank you. And I won't, sorry, you can applaud that. Okay, so we have 8 questions already. I'll have Addis, if you could respond very briefly about the issue of state sovereignty and how IOM is working with IDPs. And then Sharon, if you could please respond both in terms of the different bilateral labor mobility agreements in the pipeline and those with the GCC, and how we are protecting the rights of migrant workers abroad, as well as how we report victims of trafficking and the discussion on alternative ways of employment. Roy, if you would then kindly talk about the regulation of PRAs and what are the ongoing initiatives there. And then we'll close with Miriam on how we're protecting the livelihoods of indigenous communities.
Thank you. I may ask Pravina to support me in the IDP's response, because I mean my expertise is more of on labor migration, but just to give you like an overview how IOM works. IOM is a member states led organization. We have around 172, yeah, around that member states. So when it comes to IDPs, we have an emergency response program. On top of that, which is mandated, I think, to provide direct service and including psychosocial support and making sure that they are getting like basic services like education, health, and food, I think. Apart from that, when it comes to sovereignty, as I said, as we are member states-led organization, we work very closely with government ministries, with Ministry of Interior, with Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Labor, and our role is mainly to support them in the implementation of whatever policies they have in place for IDPs or for labor migrants. So interventions should be designed and implemented with the leadership and with a close coordination of relevant government ministries. Pravina, do you want to add? Do you want to give a bit of a details on that?
Maybe later. Yeah, maybe later. Yeah, because Sharon can touch on that.
Okay. Thank you very much for those questions. I'm very happy to see that young people really are aware of what is happening in the country, issues of labor migration, issues of policy and legal frameworks, which is a good thing for us because as we are the leaders of tomorrow. So I'm very happy to see that as young people, we are really, really aware of these issues. And just to talk on the GCC countries, just to dispute the notion, it's not that we focus on the GCC countries. It's just that that's where we receive a lot of distress cases. That is what you get in the media. So there's this notion that the government really focuses on the GCC, but we don't just focus on the GCC. We have a lot of Kenyans in Europe, in America, in Asia. We have Kenyans actually all over the world. We have around 4 million Kenyans out globally in the diaspora. And the reason why we have BLAs with the Gulf is because first, one of the main reasons for the BLA is to address protection issues. So as a government, you have to work with data. So when we get a lot of distress cases from these countries, those are the countries we start with. So we started with the Saudi, with Qatar and UAE, and also they have a lot of high demand for the low-skilled laborers. You'll find we take a lot of domestic workers. It's where now we are trying to push also for the skilled workers. And one of the major issues we have seen as government is we have a lot of issues, consular issues when it comes to the low-skilled workers. So what we're doing is we're trying also to push for skilled migration in the GCC countries, not just the domestic workers. And there are also some very good cases for people who have stayed in the Gulf. Not everyone is exploited in the Gulf. So there are also some very good cases which we are not doing a lot of justice in terms of just awareness creation on what some people are really doing well. We saw the case of the Lebanon lady who was coming back and the kids were crying at the airport and all that. Those are some of the good cases which we don't see often in the media. And also another issue on the issue of exploitation, what we're doing, we have posted labor attaches. Labor attaches, we post labor officers, but we call them labor attaches in the countries of destination, who are supposed to look at the welfare of Kenyans. So if you are we started with the Gulf. So one of the reasons also we need resources to do these things. That's why sometimes we also go to IOM and other development partners. So we have labor attaches in UAE, in Qatar and Saudi. And so when you have a problem, you're supposed to go either to the mission or consult the labor attaché if you have any dispute with the employer. Also, another aspect is the BLAs. When you're negotiating for the BLAs, we negotiate for protection issues. Do our people have access to legal aid? Do people access to how are their wages being paid? How are they treated by the employer? So when we're negotiating BLAs, we make sure that whatever the terms and conditions of employment you enjoy in Kenya, they should not be less than what you're going to get in another country of destination. So those are some of the minimums we negotiate when you're negotiating for a BLA. And also another issue is we are coming up with a bill. We have regulation of PRAs. I think Roy will talk about on the IOM side. But on the government side, we have the, it's called the Private Employment Regulations of 2016. And if you want to find any laws in Kenya, just go to Kenya law, you'll find all the legal frameworks you need. So we have that, the PRA's regulation for 2016, which guides on how we regulate private employment agencies. But then it has not been very strong. So what we're doing as government is we're coming up with we have developed a National Labor Migration Management Bill, which is going to make at least private employment agencies be more accountable. We're also coming up with a fund, with a Migrant Workers Welfare Fund, and I think it was even, the president talked about it. We're going to come up with a fund which will be able to give protection issues to Kenyans. If you're stuck out there, what happens? Because sometimes government doesn't have money to bring you back. We saw it during COVID. Most people were stranded, but government could not bring you back. So we're coming up with a fund where it will be a contributory fund, so where once you're there and you have a problem, you just reach out to the fund, and the fund should be able to cater for most of your issues. And then I'll also talk about on alternate ways of employment. As I've indicated, there are many factors that influence job creation in a country. It's good that you have ideas on alternate ways of employment creation, which as a State Department, you could visit us at the State Department, maybe bring your ideas so that we can be able to look at them. Because now we've been focusing on the issue of digital jobs, the digital economy. So we are looking at various aspects. So if there's, if you have an idea on how best we can be able to help the country in terms of employment creation, it is very important. And as we know that young people we've seen with the online jobs, with the content creation, young people are really coming up with very diverse ways of creating jobs. So it is something that the ministry will be very happy to discuss with the young people, and we always advocate that young people should always be brought on the table when discussing issues of employment creation and job creation. And so I think on that, just to reiterate that we are not just focusing on labor migration, there are also some other things we are trying to do in the country. Because as we know, with the current economic situations we are in, we are seeing war in Ukraine, we are seeing the rise in the dollar, we are seeing increase in energy prices. I think for the economists in the House, you understand that these issues also impact when it comes to job creation. So that's why we are also looking at labor migration as another alternate form for promoting employment for our Kenyans. And then there's the issue of victims of trafficking. I had indicated earlier we have two state departments. One state department is the State Department for Social Protection, where we have the Counter-Trafficking in Persons Unit, which deals with issues of trafficking in persons. And so if you know anyone who has been trafficked, or you know, or you've been trafficked, or you feel like someone or you feel like someone is trying to take you through the trafficking in persons, or because sometimes you can tell, if you can be able to have an instinct, depending on the information that someone is giving you. So you can be able to reach, it's called the Counter-Trafficking in Persons Unit. You can just go to the ministry's website, you'll be able to get the contact information for that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Sharon. Yeah, on the issue of regulating the private recruitment agencies, yeah, for IOM, we normally engage with the National Employment Authority. And based on that engagement, we are quite conversant with some of the policy and institutional frameworks that are put in place in order to, regulate the activities of the PRAs here in Kenya. And on that, maybe we could just point reference to what we call the Labor Institution Act, which was formulated by the government. And it basically stipulates the requirements that a private recruitment agency needs to meet in order for them to be licensed. And basically one of them is to have a business incorporation certificate, because indeed, in as much as you are facilitating the movement of these migrant workers to the destination country, they are also in there to make a profit. And then one other requirement is that you must submit a 1.5 million security bond, whereby this bond is going to be utilized to facilitate basically the return and reintegration of this migrant worker in any case they are facing any distress in the destination country. And also the requirements of the director who hold the position in these PRAs, they must have at least an undergraduate degree in human resource or business administration. But in as much as the Labor Institution Act is in place, the government has also gone further to set up what we call a vetting committee, in which they assess whether they assess these documents, they review these documents to see whether these PRAs have met the requirements, and then thereafter also the labor officers under the National Employment Authority also go further to carry out an inspection to see whether these PRAs actually exist in terms of their physical location. But in as much as that has been done, there is a gap, because indeed we need to measure whether these PRAs have the capacity to promote ethical recruitment. That is what I think they should be assessing, in as much as those frameworks are in place. Yes, I was also very much interested on the issue of unemployment amongst the youth, especially now that, you know, we are in the context of engaging with the higher education institutions. Indeed, on that, there's that mismatch between, you know, the programs that are being offered here in some of our higher education institutions, and also the market demand out there. Because if you may recall, back in 2013, between 2012 and 2013, there were around 38 higher education institutions that were operational, that were established during that year. So we need to ask ourselves, what goes behind the establishment of this higher education institution, or what informs the establishment of this higher education institution? And if you look at your research, for some of them, you find that indeed they are meeting either political demands, or some of them are created to meet the expectations or the demands of religious denominations. And therefore, I think even now to just sell migration, migration is indeed a discipline that is definitely on demand out there. As you know, currently we have the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, and also the Free Movement Protocol. And we indeed need practitioners, you know, to guide our leaders on how we are going to go about implementing such frameworks. So that is a course that definitely can be considered to be constituted in some of these higher education institutions, in which I'm sure you're likely to get a job out there. I stop joking.
And before Miriam starts, I know Sharon wants to show the National Employment Authority 2 pages, I think.
So we talked about, he's talked about the licensing. So any agency in Kenya, operating in Kenya, should have a valid license. So if you're approached by any agency, when you go to the NEA website, you click on the list of private employment agencies. This is the list of the private employment agencies. And the ones marked red, you can see on the far end the status is valid. So the information is online. So if any information on an agency, you come to the NEA website, you confirm. If the agency is not registered in this website, kindly do not proceed. Or if you know anyone who is migrating, tell them not to proceed to migrate with that agency, because you find then if something happens to you, then the government will not be liable. And most of those agencies are the ones we call them brokers or unscrupulous agencies. And you find that when you go with such agencies, when you go outside there, you might be promised a job of a nurse or a waiter. Then when you reach there, you find you're being trafficked. You're being taken into issues of prostitution, exploitation. So it's very, very important to be aware that of this information, and even for people who you know, because I remember everyone indicated they know someone who is a migrant out there. Thank you very much.
So, excuse me. My question was on how the government is protecting the rights of the indigenous people. Okay. So when it comes to the government is doing what it can, at least when I can at least talk for Goma, because Goma is one of the biggest cities or the biggest or the more influential cities in Congo, after Kinshasa, Lubumbashi, and then you have Goma. So in Goma, you have proper refugee camps. You have proper follow-ups somehow. But the issue comes when, because of course not everyone will be able to go to Goma. There's only so much people that, that can move or flee to Goma. So the rest can go to, shoot, I forgot the name, but it's another city. Now the issue, it's also quite big. The issue with that is that there is no proper follow-up because the government, because it's still in the east, so the government is still unable to properly attend to the people that are there, because we know there's the issue of the rebels. So what happens is that once people move over there and they see that they're not really cared for as they expected by the government, what happens is that they sometimes end up being recruited by the rebels themselves, because life is hard, life is tough. So, you know, you just have more rebels and more groups that are forming up because everyone wants a livelihood, everyone wants to be able to feed their families, and the government is unable to reach those areas, even if it's a big city. But so long as the rebel group has, even if it's not total control, partial control of the city, it's hard for the government to do much. But yeah, the government is doing what it can. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much, panelists. We are at time. And so I don't think we have time for any more questions from the audience, but we are, as you can tell, a knowledgeable group of panelists here sitting up here. We have knowledgeable and very tuned in students, and so this conversation could have gone on, I think, for 4 hours. But this is a launch event. We're hoping to have more of these dialogues. So as you leave today, please also think through what are key topics that you would like to dive in deeper and have a more focused discussion. Perhaps it could be ethical recruitment. Perhaps it could be protecting the rights of migrant workers. Think through what would be those conversations, and please feel free to suggest that to anyone from IOM. Please welcome me, or please join me in applauding our panel members. And I will turn it to the Young Diplomats Forum to close us.
Good afternoon, esteemed guests. On behalf of Young Diplomats Forum, we would like to extend our heartful gratefulness for you being here this particular day, to the organizers of the event, the IOM, the IPPIA office, through our Professor of Ideas, Young Diplomats Forum, and the entire USIU Africa Department of International Relations. We would like to say thank you. And a special mention to the following persons: the VC, the Dean, the DVC, the Chair of IR, IPPA Director, the Deputy Director IOM, and the entire staff, the AU representation, the Labour and Protection Office, Government of Kenya, the faculties from all universities represented, ladies and gentlemen, and a special mention to our patron, Young Diplomats Forum, and the ushers today. We would like to say thank you and welcome to the United States International University, not just for now, but again tomorrow and the day afterwards. Peace out. Thank you.
All right, we've reached the close of today's special event. But before we close, I'd like you all to give a shout out to the guys behind the screens. Please thank all those ushers. They've been rushing in and out of their way, running here and there, doing a lot that's been going on. I'd even like to thank the people who are here, Pravina Gurung. Yes, Pravina Gurung, and also Laura Smith's mother for coming here for the moral support too. That is Maureen Smith. We'd like to thank them, and also every single one of you for being here and taking an interest for this special event to us, this launch event for us, and we are planning to have many more. I even want to try and thank Amal. I want to thank also Jeanette, every one of you. You made this event special. Thank you so much. And before we come to a close, before we come to an official close, who all are interested in having a campus tour of our campus, please follow one of the ushers there. Could you please raise your hand? You can follow her or him, and they'll give you a campus tour. And we'll be having refreshments at our School of Humanities on the 5th floor. The ushers shall guide you. They're all standing there. You'll see them wearing white and black pants, as I mentioned before, and they'll lead you, all right? So you can all start moving out and interact, connect, and have a lovely time. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much.